are returned a little bit late. Library fines are a barrier to service for people who really need and want to use our resources. So with the support of county administration, with the support of the Montgomery County Library Board, we were able to have this approved, and it's a very, very exciting, happy moment for all of us in Montgomery County Public Libraries. And of course, if I'm going to be introducing anyone, he already introduced himself, but this is our #1 library supporter on council. Please don't repeat that to any of the other council members, because I know that they are all great library supporters. But ever since Councilmember Jawando took over as the lead for libraries, he's been very engaged in everything that is going on in the libraries, and as evidenced by the fact that he has hauled himself down to Little Falls in the middle of a pandemic to be there for people who wanted to speak with him and to take a look at the library. So I'm gonna stop talking. That's enough. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Anita. It's great to partner with you, and we're so excited. I was so excited to share the news that you just mentioned about going fine free. I think it's one of the latest innovations in a series of innovations, and more to come to expand how we provide library services in Montgomery County. And I'm glad to physically be back in a library, although it's closed to the public. I just did see, walking in, I had to wait a little bit because there were 2 members of the public taking advantage of the contactless drop off and pick up out front. And so as you mentioned, though not physically open inside, service still happening. And there's several of your employees here who have been great to let me in, and I'll do a tour afterwards. But as you said, this is a beautiful, I have a great window in front of me here, given great light. And you see I'm in a study room, and great to be here back in the library. We've done about, Seamus will correct me, but I think this is our 12th of the.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, and there's 21 public, and then the library at Clarksburg Jail, and so we're just a little over halfway, and so we're going to use the rest of this year to get to everyone that I haven't been to, and you're welcome to join even if it's not your library, but we're trying to target these to folks and send emails and communications to folks that are in this library and use it the most. To 2 things: find out how things are going with your library services in this library in particular, realizing I know the building's physically been closed for a while, but also to have a town hall and address any issues or concerns that you might have. I'm an at-large member of the county council, meaning I represent all 1.1 million plus of our residents. I take it very seriously, and I am the lead for libraries. So I thought this was a great opportunity to get around the county, visit our libraries, take assessment of how they're doing, talk to residents who are utilizing their services, and then also just use it as an opportunity to have a dialogue and town hall around any issue impacting us. And boy, are there a lot of issues right now. And so with the pandemic and the economic fallout and the vaccinations and everything we've got going on. So look forward to answering your questions. I think what we'll do is there's so many things going on. I hesitate to tell you, focus on any one thing, but I will say every Tuesday we have an update from our health officer, Dr. Gales, and Dr. Stoddard, our emergency management manager, and others, Dr. Kroll, who's the head of the Health and Human Services Department, about where we are and the council sits as the Board of Health, and we get an update on what's happening with COVID, our response, and associated issues. And this week, we did that just yesterday, and numbers continue to decline, which is good. It's important to remember that they're still higher than they were back at the first peak in May. And so while we have a decline, it's a decline from a very, very high place, and there's still significant transmission happening. We continue to vaccinate. I was on Channel 9 last night, if anyone stays up late, talking about the struggles we've had with the state in trying to get enough vaccination and to understand when and how much we're going to get early enough so that we can set the proper expectations. To give you an example, we requested 15,000 vaccinations for this week. We only received 5,500. And we're the largest county. And we're doing a great job, top 2 or 1 in the state, depending on the week, of how fast we turn around and get those vaccinations into the arms of people, upwards of 95% usually. And we're into second doses. We're vaccinating the 75 and older population now. And at the current pace, if we're only getting 5,000-6,000 a week, it's going to take us 5 or 6 more weeks to get through that population and then move to other populations. So we need more. That's been reported, thankfully. And, the President Biden and Harris, Vice President Harris, have said they're trying to get more to the states this week. And then that would hopefully mean more to us. And we're trying to increase that communication and asking the governor and the acting Secretary of Health to get that to us quicker. I know it's frustrating, but we're also working on a hotline, kind of like we did with COVID testing. It's not up yet. I should be, but this is one of the questions I asked, so that seniors and others, and I know you have the Little Falls Senior Center here. I saw that some pre-submitted questions, and I'm happy to get into that, so that people who have trouble with the internet access, or just understanding how to navigate what is admittedly, not the easiest system to navigate, how to get on the list to pre-register. We're setting up a phone system so that can happen via phone, and someone can walk people through that. It's not up yet, but we hope to have it up very, very soon. So we're continuing a whole range of services to support our businesses and renters. I'll be introducing an appropriation next Tuesday to help small businesses that are retail, that are not restaurants. So service providers that are really struggling as well to pay their rent, and that's their number one cost. And so this will be targeted to businesses that make less than $500,000 a year. And these are your local businesses there's a lot of them, and many of whom are behind on their rent. This would allow them to get 3 months rent, up to $10,000 in grants to them to help them stay afloat and get through this difficult time. We've done a whole range of other things I could talk about. Last thing I'll mention is just schools, because I'm sure people care about that. Obviously, the school board is evaluating and reevaluating. There's a date of March 1st to start allowing some students who are in special education services, and then other younger students a few weeks after that, and then moving in that method. We've got to obviously vaccinate as many teachers as we can, make sure the buildings have good ventilation. We've already appropriated money to help do that. We need more to make sure that everything is in place in that regard. The school system has a plan in place. They've had it in place for much of last year about how they would start to re-enter and keep people socially distant. So those conversations are ongoing. It's obviously the school board's final decision, but I've been on record saying I think at this point we need to start getting kids back in school, and with the appropriate protection for faculty, staff, teachers, and students. But the social, emotional, and mental health and issues and academic issues that are resulting at this point, and with the new CDC guidance out that you can re-enter school safely with the proper precautions, we need to start that process. So that's an ongoing discussion, and I think everyone wants that to happen. We may have to sacrifice on the business side and keeping other things closed so that we limit the transmission, but I think that's something that is worthwhile, considering students now. And I'm the father of 4, my wife and I, all in elementary age, 3 elementary school children and a 2-year-old. And this has been tough for them, and they have supports. And I think about every day the families and kids that are struggling during this time, a very difficult time for everybody. So a lot going on, but glad you all could show up and be a part of this. And so what we'll do is, for the next 45 minutes or so, just go through questions, as long as, it's a nice small group here. So I see we have Lisa Rosenthal has raised her hand. I think if you want to, are you moderating this, Seamus? Will you do that portion?
I'm going to have Lily moderate, but I'll move people over to allow them to talk. So I'm going to let Lisa speak now.
All right. So Lily is on my staff. She'll moderate, and then we'll go from there. Lisa, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Welcome to Little Falls Library. And
Thank you.
also, it's great to meet you, and also Anita. Little Falls Library is my favorite place. It is the community center for this area because there is no other community center. And I actually, Little Falls Village has a partnership with the library to provide the speaker series, and we're very close with the people at the library, have the utmost respect for the library staff, and I'm jealous that you're in the library. So I miss that space. I'm the executive director of Little Falls Village, which is one of the 60 aging in place villages in the metro area and one of 31 in Montgomery County. And our service area, we are the village for this area. So our service area includes zip code 20816, and then the communities of Brookdale and Kenwood. We are aging in place, so we support people to remain independent in their home. There are over 4,000 seniors, 65 and over, who live in this area. It's a very mature market. And we have many members, and we work with our members with regard to the virus, the COVID. That's my question as far as the location of the vaccination sites. Doesn't relate to the library, but it does relate to the seniors in our community. We are helping our seniors to get pre-registered and to navigate through all of the updates. But the question that I have is to ensure access and to get a vaccination site in this area. Many of our seniors do not have cars. And if they do have a car, they only do local driving. So for them to go to the mass vaccination site that's going to open in Bowie by the end of this week or up county, it's very, very difficult. We provide transportation, but we don't go that far for transportation. Right. So I am here just to raise that as an issue to ensure access for the seniors that are down county, so to speak. This area that you're in here is very accessible to the seniors in this area, to Bethesda, Chevy Chase, and to the west and to the east and to the north, because it's easy to park around here. We have a huge parking lot in front of the Safeway, including by the PNC building that's now closed if they wanted to set up some kind of a tent situation. And so I'm basically here to raise that people are frustrated, which is true, but we're working through it and we're keeping people up to date. But my main question for you is, how can we get a vaccination site that is accessible to our seniors that are in this area? And when I mentioned 4,000 seniors, I'm just talking about the 5 square miles that are in the service area that Little Falls Village serves. I didn't even include the surrounding areas of Bethesda, Chevy Chase.
Right. Well, thank you, Lisa, for the question and for all the work you do at the village. Aging in place is such an important part of, Montgomery County. I call it like the Montgomery County promise. This is a great community. You've got good schools, you've got wonderful parks, great amenities, great economy, a lot of opportunity and access here. Though we could always do better spreading it around to everybody. But another part of that is a lot of people want to stay here because of the great community it is. And so you all make that possible for so many. So thank you. So here's the thing with the mass vaccination sites. Right now, we don't have any. We've submitted to the governor recommendations. You mentioned Up County, and it sounds like you've heard that one of the recommendations were the county fairgrounds. But that hasn't, to my knowledge, been accepted as of yesterday. And there are going to be some sites in Prince George's County and Baltimore, supposedly. So one, I think we just need to get one in the county, at least. That's step one. We're trying to push on that. It doesn't make any sense to me that as the largest jurisdiction, with all the seniors, with the many, vulnerable populations we have, that we wouldn't have a mass vaccination site. So that's one push we're trying to make. The other is, I think when we get one, as you know, there are many seniors across the county, right? I hear the same exact thing you're saying at Leisure World and Asbury Village. And, you can go, I live in the eastern part of the county. There's, I think, per capita, there's a ton of senior facilities in that part of the county. How do we make sure, and now while the state is dealing with the nursing home population, and that there's a whole set of issues there, but they're the ones responsible for vaccination in that setting. We're trying to make sure that if we can get one, that it's located in a central enough place that everyone across the county who's not either receiving the vaccine in another form or that doesn't have access can get to it quickly. As you know, from the geography of the county, the Rockville, Gaithersburg area, that's kind of in the middle of the county. But I'm open. I think we should have more than one site. And so certainly if we could do that as far as mass vaccination sites, again, and then we have to have enough vaccines, but I think it would make sense to put them in multiple areas. And certainly, there's a great argument to be made that this part of the county would be one of those areas. The other thing I'll mention is that, we spent a good bit of time yesterday talking about equity in the vaccination process, which is, we're not alone in this, but we are committed to addressing it. Of the seniors so far who've been pre-registered, it's overwhelmingly white residents, even though we know there are many, many African-American, Latino residents and others who have, the highest death rates in the case of African-Americans and highest infection rate in case of Latinos who need to be registered as well. And so we're trying to make sure that even in this pre-registration process, as we move forward of the vaccine we do have, that we're doing it in as equitable a way as possible. And that's education, that's information. It's, where we put sites, if we get them, is going to be a part of that too. So I just want to be transparent that there's a lot of considerations, but I agree with you that we need to make this as easy as possible. We need to help with transportation. I'm so glad you all are helping people sign up. I've been physically and individually helping seniors sign up as well, because that's a huge need right now, especially in lieu of this, until we get the phone number set up. So happy to work with you. If you'll email me in my office, we can follow up separately as we're trying to collectively advocate for more access to these vaccines across the county. But I certainly understand what you're saying, and we'll happy to advocate for it.
Thank you very much. We had also, the villages had gotten together because we are 31 villages in Montgomery County. And we have immediate access to the seniors that are not only members and volunteers of our villages, but also like we have a mailing list of 1,300 people and that are throughout the counties. So we sent a letter together a couple of weeks ago to Dr. Gales to offer to be a partner in this process. And I would also ask that you consider that the value of partnering with us, because we can assist with this process. We can assist with identifying the seniors and to get the word out. So thank
Absolutely. You. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you haven't had they're dealing with a lot, but if you forward that to me, again, if you have already, but I'm happy to reiterate that. I think that's a great point, and the villages are such a great asset. So
thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Who's next, Lily?
All right. We have a question from Lee Blinder in the chat. It's, does MCPL have a program similar to Baltimore City's Enoch Pratt Library to let people borrow a Chromebook using their library card?
I'm going to kick that to Director.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just jumped right in there. No, we don't have a program for the lending of Chromebooks here in Montgomery County. We did about a month ago launch our program for the lending of the MiFi wireless hotspots. We have 250 of those now that folks with a MCPL card can borrow for 2 weeks. Those will provide internet access for anyone in the household. So it's a very new program that we've just launched. But at this time, no, we are not lending any type of actual laptop or Chromebook out into the community.
All right. I saw we had a question here, Catherine Davies. Not to jump in front of you, can go, Lily. I know this meeting's about Little Falls. If we have extra time, I'd like to hear about what the library is doing at the Clarksburg Jail, which I did visit, and I can maybe say a brief. There's a lot they're doing, but I can, I want Anita to chime in as well. I think it's one of the greatest parts of our system, and that the people who work there are so dedicated, along with everyone else in the system. And it's really provides a great resource. I was able to go pre-COVID last year, or 2 years ago now, I guess, to visit with some of the residents there who are either trying to get their GED or researching their cases, trying to improve their education. And it gets a lot of use. It's a very nice library. It's probably about as big of the room as I'm in here, maybe a little bit bigger. And it's got a great collection. And I know they offer a range of services. They have a law library there if people need to research case law. And they work closely also with the program that Montgomery College has there for people who are trying to get their GED while they are incarcerated. And so I've been very impressed with it. And I've been trying to do more with the jail in general about how we upgrade the services there as far as workforce development and educational opportunities, so that we can give people the best chance when they come out to be successful. Because if you're at the Clarksburg jail, almost 100% of those folks, 95% or so, are going to be coming back into the community at some point. And we want to make sure they re-enter well. So Anita, I'm sure you know more, and if you want to add anything about that.
Well, I think actually Mr. Jawando has covered everything. There is a small actual physical library in the correctional facility in Clarksburg. We have 2 staff members who work there. Their primary focus is legal support for incarcerated individuals there. But the library also contains a number of recreational reading materials that the population can borrow and take back to their pods. Right now, the library is closed. There is, I think, very limited movement within the correctional facility. So we have looked in different ways. Working with the Friends of the Library Montgomery County, we have spent about $700 to purchase paperback books that the population can have and take back to their pods, residences. So trying to allow them to have something to keep their minds occupied, because I believe that quite a few of the services are now restricted and not underway due to COVID concerns. It's my understanding. The legal reference service is still going on. The residents can request legal materials, and those are provided for them. This is their constitutional right. So work goes on in a different way, which is kind of the same as all of the libraries. Operation continues, and the staff members there are very dedicated to the work that they do with the inmates.
Awesome. Lily?
So the next question that we have is from Michelle Whitaker on Facebook. She says, I really enjoyed your reading sessions. Is there an online reading program / reading sessions for young readers? Are there ways we can support kids to help with reading skills for elementary students?
It's great. I can start, and Anita can chime in as well. So thank you, Michelle. Good to see you. And your little one, I know, participates in story time. I am still doing virtual story time. We just on Friday, I think our 87th episode will air. We're just doing it once a week now because the libraries have a ton of range of services. And when I started back in March, I was doing it 5 days a week, and I was probably a little ambitious. And now we're doing it once a week, but it's still a lot of fun. And this one's actually, I learned something that February is actually National Child Dental Hygiene Awareness Month, in addition to being Black History Month, in addition to being Library Lovers Month. So February's got a lot of good things going on. So we partnered with Colgate for an episode about dental hygiene that'll be on this Friday. So that's still happening 11:30 on Friday. And there are a range of other programs that the library is doing as far as story times and other educational content. And I'll let Anita talk about that. I know the MCPS is also, obviously, virtual learning is happening. And there are educational equity hubs And I recently put an appropriation forward for therapeutic recreational services for some of our most at-risk students, and for after-school engagement hubs that are going to be helping some of our most at-risk students after school, in person but socially distanced, in partnership with the Collaboration Council for Children, Youth, and Families in the county. And so that program is ongoing. And the school system actually has just started to offer tutoring for students, and that's available right now. And you can sign up through MCPS, and we'll put out some more information about that. So those are the things I'm aware of on the top of my head, but Anita, I'm sure, has a bunch of others she could talk about.
Yeah. Michelle, hi. Yeah, we have many programs that are kind of along the same lines as Mr. Jawando's reading time. So I'm just taking a real quick look at our calendar of events. There is a story time of some type every single day in the month of February, except the 15th when we're closed for President's Day. So these range from baby story times to family story times to bilingual story times, Sunday through Saturday. So if you're looking for something, check our calendar of events, and you can filter it by the appropriate type of program that you're interested in or the appropriate age. And then in terms of helping to support kids with reading skills for elementary students, again, on our website, we have a page for kids. And if you click on that, you'll see we have pulled together resources. The page is called Learning from Home, K through 8. And that's access to our story times, our book talks, other virtual events for kindergarten through second grade, all of the different resources we have. And then we do have a lot of programs for elementary age kids. We've got our Read to a Dog program, which allows somebody to practice their reading virtually with a dog. It's very popular in person, but it's also very popular online. And of course, the Holds to Go program. You can call your local library, Little Falls, and say, I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old at home. The 8-year-old still loves dinosaur stories. The 11-year-old is really into things that are fantasy, like the Rick Riordan books. And can you put together for me 8 books for each child? And they'll do that. You don't have to be the one that knows the titles that you want. You don't have to go plowing through the catalog. The librarians are there. They're ready to assist you. So please take advantage of that. So we can put together a bundle of books for you and your family. You can make your appointment to pick them up, and away you go.
It's great. Who's next?
All right, so we have a question from Chris Farrell. He wants to know, is Wi-Fi service available at most MoCo library branches throughout the day and evening?
Well, I know I'm using the MoCo, the library's Wi-Fi, but I think when people are in the building, of course, I think maybe Anita can talk about the work that they've been doing to get MiFis and Wi-Fis out to the community.
Sure. So, Chris, your question, we run our Wi-Fi 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we have for years. We never turn it off. So you can certainly access it outside at most of the libraries. But another initiative that we did in partnership with the county's Department of Technology Services that has just been completed is to install, it boosts the signal. We call it's outside Wi-Fi, really, additional wireless service. I'm a little hazy on the technology, has been installed at 11 of our libraries. So to boost the signal out into the parking lot or a park nearby a building so that more people can take advantage of it. Certainly, I understand that now is not the best time of year to be using wireless outside anywhere, but this service is available, and certainly we have people who, come up and park in their cars and take advantage of the service for a while. So the answer is yes, wireless service 24/7 outside the buildings, and you can access it at all of them. but at 11 of them, and unfortunately, I don't have the list right in front of me, but if you, Chris, you give, if you pre-submitted the question, I think Seamus probably has your contact information, and we can get that full list to you. It's mostly libraries, I think, in the Down County area, because it's an initiative to support wireless service in those areas where folks might be a little bit challenged financially to provide broadband to their family. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the loaning program for the MiFi hotspots, the 250 of them. And we do hope in the future to be able to increase the number that we have available.
And that's a good point, Chris and Director Vassallo. If you all provide me the list as well, I think that's something to be good to periodically publish on social media and stuff, so people know that that's available and at which branches, so that'd be great. All right, who's next?
All right, it looks like we have 2 more questions, but I want folks to know that they can submit in the chat and we are happy to answer more questions. So John wants to know, what can you do? This is related again to vaccines. What can you do to get the vaccine pre-registering unified versus applying to multiple sites, 4 to 5 hospital groups, grocery stores, county? He notes that it's like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's
I've heard that reference, Hunger Games of vaccines.
I have, and there's actually a group, Vaccine Hunters, and it's a whole bunch of things that are out there. It's a great question. Unfortunately, it's right now, the way the governor and the state has decided to, bifurcate this. They're in charge of the nursing homes. They're distributing to the giant stores, of which we have 4 in the county, and they're only getting about 25 to 50 a week. And so one of my concerns has been the expectation raising, 50 vaccination. I mean, those are gone before they're even there as far as people registering. And so a lot of people call and think they can go there and they're already spoken for. So that's been a challenge. We have been on our site, we allow you to log in. The private hospitals, we are doing more with them as far as getting more information, sharing about if they have extra vaccinations, giving us some that we can use in our system and take advantage for our pre-registration list, and also just being aware of where they are in their progress. And we're working with them, with Hopkins and Adventist and Holy Cross and all Suburban to share that information and try to make it more seamless. And as I said, the private partners that the state is contracted with to deal with nursing homes and senior facilities, and the situation with Giant and the like, that's a little more difficult because it's on a different system. And I might not have done it that way if I were making the decision, but that's the way it's happened. But we're trying to nonetheless, especially with the hospitals, to coordinate more. Eventually, where we'll get to, just so you know, and we've asked the state to do, get to this point as well when we have enough vaccinations, is that people will go to their private healthcare providers who have a primary care doctor, for example. And if you open up that capacity, that's when we get to the general population outside of specific vulnerable groups. That's going to be much more helpful, but we're not there yet. So probably not a satisfying answer, but that's the one I can give you.
Great. So the last question that we have is again from John, and this is related to the fines being lifted. So he mentions that fines were all lifted this week from Montgomery County Public Libraries. Has this been tied to success in other jurisdictions? What's the incentive for many to return books? And what has the cost implication in jurisdictions that have waived fees been?
Great. Well, I think, Anita, you can chime in. I think it's like you said, it's a disincentive for people to come back. I know, just think about if you're normal, everyone's normal, but just think about yourself. You have a fine. We've all had a fine. And there is an effect that happens psychologically, even if you have money to pay the fine, that you feel bad about it. There's a shame element involved. You don't want to go and turn it in, and it's kind of a fulfilling and defeating prophecy, and then add on to that, so you don't go, and then it becomes, and it's, it's such a small fine. One of the things, it's not even, doesn't even have the deterrent effect necessarily of for in some cases. So you have that piece of it, and then you have people who are low income who can't afford it and who really need to access the services of the library, like Wi-Fi, jobs help services, and that are discouraged from coming. So I think it's there is data from other places that maybe Anita's aware of that shows that it is effective, but I'll let her talk about that.
So Fine Free is a movement that's occurred across the United States in public libraries, and it's been underway for many years. There are library systems, Salt Lake, Chicago, many others that are fine free, and some of them have been fine free for 8 to 10 years. Within Maryland, the Enoch Pratt Library is fine free. There are others. So the way the fine free decision was arrived at was that in 2017, we asked and were given permission by then County Executive Isaiah Leggett to remove fines from children's materials as a pilot. And so we conducted that pilot for 2 years. At the end of the pilot, did evaluation and found that not charging materials for children's materials did not impact the number of items that were lost to the collection, nor did it significantly impact the amount of time that people held the materials. So at that time, I tasked the members of my 12-person library board, which is an advisory board formed of citizens who apply for this role and are selected by the county executive, to research and draft for me a recommendation on going totally fine free, which they did, surveying library systems across the country, looking at information, white papers, and other documents compiled by the Urban Libraries Council, which is a national US and Canadian organization of large urban library systems, drew all this information together and made an evaluation that going fine free was the right thing to do for our community at this time. They sent this recommendation over to the Chief Administrative Officer for the county, Mr. Rich Madaleno, and in consultation with our county executive, Mark Elrich, they determined that this was something that they could approve. So the second part of your question is why people bring book, why would they bring them back if they're not going to get penalized? And I think Councilmember Jawando alluded to that actually the fine system can be a barrier to returning the materials because you're embarrassed, because you can't afford it. So what happens is we lose users, and we make it hard for people who are most in need of using the library to be able to do so. For many residents of Montgomery County, paying $5 or $10 for library fees is not something that is significant. But for many other of our residents, $5 and $10 is not an amount they can afford to take out of their pocket. They need it for other critical needs, food, housing, transportation to get to work, many other reasons. We do not want to block our community from being able to access one of the jewels of the county's governmental system, its public libraries. Now, if someone keeps a book out for a long period of time, it is marked on their account as lost, and a charge does go on their account. And it can be significant. So someone may find that they have, they suddenly owe $200 because they have $10, $20 books out. At that point, their library account is suspended until this is cleared up. But now all they have to do is bring those books back and we're all good. Everything is good. And really, we are likely to see the return of many more of our items, than we did previously. I mean, I've already heard from people through Facebook or other social media, and they're like, "Oh well, I guess I'll bring back those books I've had out for 5 years now, so you all can have them. I didn't want to come by. I was too embarrassed. I didn't want to admit to it. And then, just it makes the library a more welcoming place. If, as many of us have seen, you are standing at a checkout desk, a mother comes up with a few kids with a stack of books to check out, and the mother is informed that her card is blocked because she owes $20 in library fines. And more often than not, the parent, the caregiver will turn to the children and say, we're not coming anymore. I can't afford this. And then we've just lost a whole family. So these are all the reasons behind going fine free.
Yeah.
And we're very excited and very happy. It's the right thing to do. And we're so pleased we've been able to do it.
Amen.
And actually, it turns out we have another question for y'all. So let's keep it going. A year ago, the County Office of Legislative Oversight issued a report called The Changing Nature of Libraries. How is that report being used in planning and advancing library services beyond going fine free?
It's a great question. I had requested that report in combination consultation with Director Vassallo and others in my role as lead for libraries on the council. And it's maybe we'll put it in the chat here for people who haven't read it. Maybe we can do that on my staff. But it was convened at a time, pre-COVID, and we had grand plans of having big sessions about it and using it as a platform to kind of launch into what libraries can be and are, and what the future looks like. And we're still going to do that. It's just COVID has kind of thrown a curveball in everything. You see the Fine Free as an example of an innovation that is happening even in the middle of the pandemic as branches are physically closed. But there are a lot of things that libraries do. I think Director Vassallo was mentioning, these Little Falls is a jewel of the community. You heard Lisa talk about it as the community center. I often talk about, how many times do you hear, well, you need to access some county service or look something up or figure something out or take the next step in your life, go to the library. That's how common of that's the bumper sticker. I want to make one day, go to the library, and what does that mean? It means so many different things, and has for a long time, but whether it be student supports, family, other families, family needs, accessing services, using Wi-Fi, researching things, employment services, early childhood education in the form of story time and other programs that are here, and senior services. Many of our libraries in our system are a big time respite and resource to seniors. So we really cover the whole gamut from of age and need. And then so the question here was, how do you look at those services and where are there gaps, or where are there things that we could enhance, and how do we get the great things that are offered here out to more people, and what are innovative strategies to do that? One of the things I often talk about is, there's so many things that the library does, but there's so many people that don't know about it. And how do we change that and get more people engaged? Because you create more demand, then you can get these services out to folks and get them utilized by a broader set of people. Then you can bring more people in, and you can start funding more services and more staff and expand the things that we're doing here. So I think that's kind of been my motivation, but I think it's a limitless opportunity of what libraries can be, both in person and virtually, and outside of the building even. We talked about, one of the things we talked about last year was outreach, people, from staff, not just people coming to the library, but how do we get people in the library out to the communities that they're in, and engage them both where they live, but also in the community and in the library itself. So those are some of the things we talk about in the report. And I still am very committed to, with Director Vassallo and her team and my colleagues, to moving forward on a vision for 21st century libraries, which many things I think we're already doing, but there's always obviously more we could do. So Anita, I know I said a lot, but I'm sure you can add something there.
I think you covered it pretty well. The two recommendations that came out of the OLO report were, the first one was fine free, to explore that. So we'll check that off the list. We did it. The second recommendation was to integrate the workforce and business development program of county libraries more thoroughly with the current economic agencies, nonprofits, organizations that the county is involved in. And I feel that we're doing a good job with that. We do have a staff member whose sole responsibility is workforce and business development. She works with partnership organizations to present a wide range of virtual programs, from how to get a job with Montgomery County to LinkedIn boot camp to personal counseling for small business owners through SCORE, programs on starting your own business, wending your way through the regulations, the process for applying for a permitting, developing a business plan. All of that is underway through virtual platforms here in the library. And so working with the OLO at Councilmember Jawando's behest was really a very pleasant experience for us. Our liaison was extremely interested in public libraries and what we do. She was quite complimentary in terms of how Montgomery County Public Libraries is keeping abreast of changes in the library's role and mission in 2021. And so I was very glad that we were able to partner with the OLO to look at our services and our programs and see where we can improve, see where we need to be looking for the next thing that we can do for the community. And then, of course, the OLO report was a very good underpinning for us in our request to go fine free. So.
Yep, that's great. We're a good team. It's like we haven't left. We haven't missed a beat since.
We planned all that. Yes.
Well, I think that's all we have as far as questions go, but I actually wanted to mention, I noticed that you were double masking today, council member, and I would love if you would, after your closing, show us the proper way to put on a mask and the best protocols, because, you know, sometimes people get a little confused about keeping it under your nose versus over. So I was really touched by you having the proper protocol.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Lily. It's a great reminder. Well, before I do that, I'll do that at the end, and just say, you know, thank you to everybody for joining. And I was keeping an eye on the number count. Most of you stuck around the whole time, so I appreciate that. And I think we'll try. Feel free to come back to a future one. We're going to try to work on the technology side of this so that I can see you all, because I'd love to see you all. And so we'll try to do a Zoom format next time where people who want to can actually show their faces, and you just have to ask for permission to be unmuted. But so I can actually have the feel of an actual town hall here. I know you're there because I see you there, but we'll try to do that in the future. When is our next one, folks? Do we have it scheduled?
We've been rescheduling them because of the change in the council schedule. So
yeah,
I think
yes or no though.
No, I think Sabria has it just about wrapped up, but we don't have
the next one to announce. So we will send an email out and put it on social media once we get to our next library tour. I hope we do another one this month, I think is what we were trying to do. And so we'll be in touch with you, and so you're welcome to come back and ask about anything. My email, I will, if my staff hasn't put it in the chat, they can do that now. Just councilmember.jawando@montgomerycountymd.gov. If you have any questions, you have a pothole, you have something you need, anything related to libraries, you can reach out to us. I'm at Will Jawando on all social media, and really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you. And Director Vassallo, do you want to say anything as we close out?
Well, I'll say the same thing that I always say. Our role is to have people use this resource. So I thank everyone for being here to hear about libraries and hear about what the county is doing to support them. Please let your friends and relatives and neighbors know that they can get a library card in a minute on our website, a digital card that will open up the whole world of the library to them. We can save them money. We can entertain them. We can make them think. We can open their minds to a lot of things. And we're here to be used. Call us,
Yeah.
visit us outside, stop by and pick up something to read. Please use this resource that your taxes pay for.
Oh, and thank you for saying that. And Mr. Gorman, I see you put in, you said you thought this was a library tour and you're an hour in and no tour. So I think you might have been, what we do is it was the me touring the libraries. And I'm happy to pick my computer up and show you a little bit of the library there so that way you can, you got at least a view. But I tour the library to take its kind of a look at its condition. And normally people are in the building with me for when we did these in person. So, but that's a decent idea. Maybe I'll try to get a little GoPro and put a thing on my head and walk around the library at some point.
Well, I would just say that all the libraries are in a state of disarray right now because we're running our Holds to Go program. So we have long tables in our open areas. They're full of books that people are putting on hold so they can pick them up. So might not be the prettiest tour, but it will definitely show all the work that the libraries are doing to provide reading material and other things to the community right now.
You gave me a good idea. Maybe, Anita, what we can do is we can bring our video crew out and kind of chronicle some of that at some point, all the work that's going on behind the scenes.
That's a great idea.
I'm actually sitting next to a bunch of boxes here. So,
Mhm.
well, thank you all for joining. I will follow my staff's instruction and I will show you, I have two masks. I have a surgical mask, which are the kind you want to wear. If you don't have an N95 or anything, these are really good. And so I put that on. And then I have a cloth mask, which is made by a local Kensington company called Lightning Apparel. They usually make jerseys, lacrosse jerseys and things, which they still do. But they've gotten to the business over the last year of making great masks that have the Maryland and county flag and a whole bunch of cool things. So check Lightning Apparel out. But you put it on over your nose. There's a little tightening strip at the top there. You keep it under your chin. Right, this is not the right way to wear it. That doesn't count. Keep it under your chin, and then you take the other mask right on top. And I already have big ears, but okay. And then you keep that over your nose as well, and then it looks pretty good. And what I've done is you can mix the colors and try to match. So, so that's how you double mask. And in all seriousness, we discussed yesterday at our health briefing. Dr. Fauci, our county resident and president's advisor on COVID, there's some serious discussion going on with these new variants out here about the need to potentially double mask. And I do it. I've been doing it for a while. There's more science on it now. And if you do have to be out, particularly in a place where it's hard to social distance, or if you're going to the grocery store or somewhere like that, I think it is smart to do. And you can consider doing it. Anyway, more to come, and thank you for joining. And we will see you hopefully later this month at the Future Library Tour. Check out Storytime on Friday, and please avail yourself of all the great services that the library is offering. So thank you all very much. Thanks, Anita.